Welcome to another exciting edition of the program, Ashford, the Giant Garley Live, as we come to you from Detroit, Michigan. Oh, man. It is Monday, and it feels great to be back home. Very shortly, we're going to link up with Information Highway with my co-host is standing by. We have a full house tonight, so you might just want to sit back, relax, invite a few friends, so that we can together have a great time. This is yours truly, the brother who doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion, and that's why they call him the giant. And now you know me, one copy, the golden voice of Liberia. Welcome. You might just want to please invite a few friends. I can't do this by myself. Just tell friends, relatives, and loved ones, grab something to drink, grab a little popcorn rolling, so that we can together talk about Liberia and the people of Liberia. Oh, man. At this time, I'd like to strictly go to Information Highway, where Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts is standing by to bring us up to speed. Mrs. Roberts, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Garley. How are you?
Well, too blessed to be stressed as always, How was your weekend?
My weekend was bittersweet, but for the most part, it was great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to go right to the task. I want to say good evening to our Bridge Radio Africa viewers. Welcome to another informative and each edition of Bridge Radio Africa with your host, Ashford, the Giant Garley. Thank you for choosing Bridge Radio this evening as your choice of entertainment. We hope our mothers had a great weekend as we celebrated Mother's Day this weekend. We know that you mothers are the nurturers of society. Thank you for all that you do. Tonight, we ask that you please share the broadcast as your friends are not my friends, because we have a powerhouse tonight. We have a lot of information we want to share with you. Note, this platform is for a matured audience. There will be absolutely no profanity here. Most importantly, you must be 21 and over to be part of this audience. Please be respectful of each other and please be respectful of our guests. Most importantly, please be respectful of our host, Ashford. Again, you may also subscribe to bridgeradioafrica.com as we have more news, entertainment, music, and views for your viewing pleasure. You may also sponsor this show or any future shows for your announcements of any event or just your business ad. You're welcome. Again, please make yourselves comfortable, grab a seat, grab your drink of choice or your meal of choice as we bring you a powerhouse. Mr. Garley, back to you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Roberts. But for some reason, one of the guests is coming in via my phone instead of coming in via the screen, and I believe he's the president of the Association of Liberian Journalists in the Americas. I don't know why he's coming via my phone. Moses, I think you should be coming via the link on Facebook and not my phone. I don't know what's going on because I see you coming via my phone. You want to what's up?
I'm really not sure, but
Moses, can you hear me?
yeah, as I speak to you right now, I'm watching you
I can see the his video image, but he's not on the screen.
I'm watching.
Which it's a little confusing, you know. I think I'll play a little bit of this music, and then we can figure that out.
I'm watching you. Do you see me, Ashford?
At this time, Mrs. Brooks Roberts, I want you to please just go in and read out a few comments as we bring in our guests via the image around here. So go ahead and just give us the few comments as you get ready, okay?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Garley. Again, thank you for joining Bridge Radio Africa this evening. We have few comments trending, and I will read them. Eric Papi Bokai, he says, hi. We have Mr. D-Flow Flumbo watching. Kaba Mohammed Diaketi writes, I am watching you, brother, from Brussels, Belgium. Marduopo Pelo's son. And just like that, I am here. Good evening from Surprise, Arizona, my Bridge Radio family. Williard Eastman, good evening, Garley, Mr. Garley rather. Terry Choir, you here. Horkai Baka, he says, hi. Lapu Zega, hello everyone. Tata Tamba Hall, watching from Philadelphia. Elizabeth Hine, good evening to all. Viola D. Masekwa, yes, oh. Michael Bobby Bull, what's up? Michael Bobby again, Lapu Zega. Terry Choir, welcome. Emmanuel Garley, I am on time today. Stanley just arrived from We Are Criminals Empire.
Are you there?
Ruth Giffey, boom, I'm here. Smith Dawie is here also. Leonard Boye, Liberians, the country need all of us, and she needs us now. Shash Be De Bola, Shashibe, bang, I'm here. Letty Brooks Roberts, I think I was communicating with Mr. Moses. Can you hear Mr. Garley? He's gone. Okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you, but I can't see. I mean, I can see Moses from my phone. He shouldn't be coming through the phone. I don't know what is going on, you know? But go ahead and continue, Mrs. Roberts. He should be coming in via the link.
And then we have Mona Koti. She says, good morning on my end. Watching from Belgium. Terry Choir, we can see him. Stanley, he is hearing you and responding to you, the giant. Terry Choir, he is on Facebook. Shashibe D. Boiler says, here, watching from my corner in the stupid people of CDC. Musu Snetter, hi, my dear brother. Gus Duncan, he's on Ashford. Smith Dawie, hello there, my family. We have Miss Juanita Say watching. Weekly Chill says, good evening from the People Republic of Heaven. Wow. We have Sekou Kane, the storyteller, watching. Juanita Say writes, watching from Newark, New Jersey. We have Michi Richards Herbert watching also. Joetta Johnson, hello family. Mohammed Kone, hello big brother.
It's still the same
Elizabeth
thing.
Bawon.
Hold on 1 minute, please. Let me see if we can hear Moses. Mr. Sandy, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm hearing you guys, but you don't hear me, right?
Moses, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Moses Sandy, can you hear us?
Yes, I do. I hear the both of you.
Let's go to the president of the PUL. Mr. Coffey, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm getting it loud and clear.
Okay, I think then we're gonna have to go with the phone with Moses as well, because for some reason I'm looking at the images. All right, yeah. I'm looking at him, but there's no video. When I click on now I can see him, but he's on my phone instead of being on the system. I don't know what is going on. So the link that you have, Moses, all you have to do. Let me see if I can get Moses to be connected.
Yeah, can he log out and come back in?
Hold on 1 minute. Let me do this. Hold on, Moses. Let me see it. Okay. Moses, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, he's gonna have to switch over.
Okay.
And Mr. Coffey, are you still on?
Yes.
Okay. I hope that the deputy minister can join us shortly. I see the president of ALJA, Joe Mason, trying to make his way in as well, so that we can jumpstart the whole thing. This afternoon, this night, and go from there.
Are you there? Just call.
Mr. Coffey, how was your weekend?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
Please leave your message for.
What was Moses? That Moses Joe Mason that he was trying to call, and let's take a few balls again of our team song as we make way for this gentleman to come in tonight. Honorable Mason, how you doing, sir?
Hey, the Giant, how are you?
Good, my man. Too blessed to be stressed. Can't complain. I have Mr. Charles Coffey on the line. We're still having problem in getting Moses Sandy, the outgoing president of ALJA, and we're still looking forward to seeing the Honorable Deputy Minister of Information for Public Affairs, Mr. Eugene Fangon. But we have to get the ball rolling. So I will begin with you first. Mr. Coffey, in 2 minutes, just give us your opening statement. We have the government of Liberia and the PUL in a disagreement when it comes to the passes that you need as we fight this COVID-19. Luckily for us, Mr. Sandy has just joined us. So I will begin with you, President Coffey. 2 minutes, just give us your opening statement. And gentlemen, if you're not talking, please mute your phone. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the platform. As head of the umbrella organization of all journalists in the country, we continue to conform to our core values and norms, which include the safety and protection of journalists, making sure that their rights are protected. So when policies are being instituted or measures that tend to infringe on the rights of media workers in the country, our responsibility is to bring those who are instituting those policies to check and resist them in the interests of the media community.
Okay. In the diaspora, we have Mr. Joe Mason. Mr. Joe Mason is the president of the Association of Liberian Journalists in the Emeritus, and I would just allow him to come in with an opening statement for just 2 minutes. Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Ashford. Thank you for the invitation to be on tonight. I think it is unfortunate that this bickering between the president of Liberia and the Minister of Information continues, and we all can agree that it undermines the fight against the coronavirus. And I'm hoping that level heads can prevail and people can see reason to work together. So hopefully during the course of this discussion, we can continue to speak to the important need for the press to continue to be operational and effective, because I think it helps the government and it helps everyone in this fight against the coronavirus.
Okay, that's the voice of the president of ALJA, Mr. Joe Mason. Now we have 3 branches of the government. The 4th branch is the 4th estate. So it means I know you're almost. I'm coming to you. I'm just letting.
Okay.
The 4th branch is the 4th estate, and the government will need the 4th estate to work. We all have to work together, because you can come and lay out all your policy. Without the 4th estate, you cannot implement those policies. So in my mind, there's no need for the the three branches of government to see the fourth branch as some type of enemy. We're all one big village, and we all need to work together because they will depend on us that come from the fourth estate to disseminate their information. With that said, I want to introduce to you the former president of ALJA and my longtime workmate at the Liberia Broadcasting System, ELBC. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Moses Sandy. In 2 minutes, just give us your opening statement, Mr. Sandy.
Thank you, Mr. Garley, and let me also express gratitude to the management of Bridge Radio for the opportunity to be online this evening, along with my friend and brother, President Joe Mason of the Association of Liberian Journalists, and also my good friend, Mr. Charles Coffey, former co-worker of the Liberia Broadcasting System. It is a privilege to be on with these powerful men of today, like Mr. Mason said, and also similar comment coming from President Coffey. The need for political coexistence in Liberia, the need for the media and government to coexist in Liberia is just inevitable. There is not a time for Liberia to be at war with itself, especially when we are fighting an invisible, virus. We are fighting a virus which is invincible, so we are fighting an invisible enemy. It's time for all hands on the deck, and it is imperative that the government and the media coexist in making sure that COVID-19 is defeated. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go back to President Coffey. Mr. President, COVID-19 is here to attack everybody. And in this regard, we have all got to work together. We have to put country above people, and the vast majority of the Liberian people will have to come first before any institution. According to Minister Fangon, you both started this process on the very fair note. You both sat down and signed off passes for media practitioners. And this particular day, he decided to allow you to go forth. And in his mind, he expected you to wait for him. But you single-handedly, according to Minister Fangon, you single-handedly issued out passes. And you did that in such a huge production where taxi drivers, young boys, construction workers, they all have passes as if they were journalists. And in one particular case, he saw a taxi driver with a pass and said, "Are you a journalist?" And in response, the taxi driver said, "I work for a journalist." When he noticed that, he decided to recall all of the previous passes, to reissue passes, because now you don't know who's out there in the street. How do you respond, Mr. Coffey?
Well, it's good. Everything you explained about the minister comments is being seen that in the country, we've been reacting to that. The first thing, the passes are not intended for people to go to the banquet or less say to travel out of
You might, well, I mean, the network is bad. You might want to use audio instead of video, Mr. Coffey. The The audio is very bad. Let's see if we can bring you in via. Geez, folks, please bear with me again if you just joining us. This is Ashford Garley live via BraceRadio.Africa.com, and we have with us tonight the president of or the presidents of the labyrinth, the Association of Labyrinth Journalists in the Americas, and we'll also have the president of the PUL, Mr. Charles Coffey, and we'll have the president emeritus of ALJA as well. And tonight we are talking about the disagreement between the government of Liberia and the press union of Liberia. As we wait for Mr. Coffey to join us, let me go back now to the president. No, I can't take in this call. The president of the Association of Labyrinth Journalists here in America, in the Americas, Mr. Joel Mason. Joel, you just heard me introduce this topic. What do you know so far?
It was interesting that you mentioned Minister Fagon's allegation, and I was hoping, unfortunately, the lines are so bad, but I was hoping to hear what Charles' reaction would have been.
Hold on. I think Charles is on the line now. Charles, are you there?
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, as I was saying, the first thing is to say allegations are false and misleading. Only the Minister of Information had the authority to print the passes. In fact, the Minister of Information signature is on those passes. The only role the press union played was to present listing of media institutions and individuals. And I did not print any pass, as Minister Fagon alleged. They hired the vendors and the rest. In fact, the passes could not cover all journalists. So what interest do I have to print passes? And before you print the pass, there is cost attached. So how can the PUL print passes and give those passes to taxi drivers, to truck drivers, and business people? That is false and misleading. That's why we decided to pull out of the process. Minister Fagon is a propagandist. He doesn't know the media terrain of our country. And so he goes about castigating people. In recent time, he just insulted church people. The last time he had a problem with the legislature for the kind of deportment for which the House of Representatives declared him as non-governmental materials, and he was even placed in simple jail for the same deportment and false information. So it's false and misleading. From the onset of the issue of passes, the Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Eugene Nabwe, invited the press here. The first thing was about to settle a dispute. When the coronavirus incident occurred first in Liberia, the Deputy Minister of Public Affairs selected two media institutions, independent, and the rest were the online and other media institutions. So they raised contention, the media practitioners. That's how Minister Nabwe invited us. He invited publishers, association, and the other auxiliary broadcasters and the rest. So at the meeting, I suggested that you need to give access to every media institution through representation to cover the coronavirus updates. So the decision was to leave Ministry of Information and move to Health Ministry, where they have Beaker Hall, because we have to observe the social distancing. Then passes basically came about to give passes to this institution. So the decision was the president should provide the names of this institution, and the Ministry of Information will print the passes. That's what we did. So that allegation is false and misleading. Minister Fagon has never provided any evidence of a truck driver or taxi driver who he claimed are using our passes, and to even indicate whether we gave them the passes. So, I mean, it's just false and misleading. As we speak, police in recent time even arrested some people impersonating as police officers. Even the military, the most disciplined institution, security institution, they have arrested some maiden impersonating as army personnel. They were sent to police station. The coronavirus response passes for vehicles are all around on trucks, on keke, as we call it in Liberia, and they all about. So Falcon has never provided any evidence. So the information is false and misleading. We asked him to provide evidence. As there's been no evidence, he just go about making such allegation.
Well, you were called today at the Senate to provide some type of clarification. How did that meeting go?
Well, the meeting went well. The broadcasting committee of the Senate invited the press union, and I went with the leadership and some veterans, including T. Mas Gerate, Jonathan Pelede, Frank Senwola, and the Red Malcolm Joseph, and all of the veterans who are on the PU advisory committee. And we went at the Senate to meet the broadcasting committee. The committee said it was concerned about the wave of allegations and the disagreement between the Minister of Information and the press union. So the committee wanted to have a clearer picture and make a determination into the matter. So we provided the information, and then we gave some detail about the decision of the membership. The membership is very angry of Minister Falcon's false allegation against the press union, and that we have decided not to submit to any process or receive passes. So the membership voted. We provided the information to the ministry that we been striving in the absence of resources to promote the messages against coronavirus. In fact, the World Health Organization, WHO, also work with us. We trained some journalists. So the Senate said it was cognizant of the role the media continued to play, and there was no need for confrontation. So they spoke with us. They also invited the Minister of Information, and we were informed that the committee will submit its report to the plenary of the Senate so they can make determination. Some of the issues we put forward was about rights issues. During the state of emergency, you cannot curtail the rights of the media. If we agree before printing passes, it was through consultation and we had a role to play. After 2 days, you called the press conference saying those passes were being deactivated on grounds that they were being duplicated with even consultation with us to say it again. The next day, the Solicitor General issued a press statement threatening to close down media institutions, to confiscate their equipment. And it was a result of a media report that the president was positive of the coronavirus. Some institution, according to them, alleged. So the following day, they started to use threats, and Falcon too decided to say he saw passes in people's hands. So we gave them all of the information. It went well, and we are optimistic that the Senate has oversight responsibility over the government. The plenary will listen to all of us and take action. But as it is, we have resolved not to submit to any process, unnecessary restrictions, coercion, and intimidation, and all kinds of methodology being employed by some elements in government to strangulate the media. As we speak, the minister went at some checkpoints, like Famuma and ALJA. We have evidence. Spoon FM station manager Titi Kane was intimidated. Her vehicle was in the queue last week with contentious vehicle plying the route. The minister instructed some of his police officers, and they asked her to leave the line because she was not bearing Falcon's pass. We have to intervene. It happened to the assistant secretary of the press union, Akwe Besa, at ALJA Junction. Similar incident, we have to intervene. We confronted the joint security and the AFL, but those officers were not from the army or police officer. This evening, the AFL chief of staff was on one of the local radio stations saying they are now going to take instruction from civilian, meaning Minister Falcon, rather they're going to take instruction from their bosses and the commander-in-chief, and that they will only accept a valid ID card from media practitioners. So there are a lot of issues in this country. There are a lot of things that are happening that, in my mind, some members of the government want to hide. For example, a pregnant woman in Mankibi, she was being conveyed at the hospital. At the checkpoint, some DA officers flogged the woman with a motorcycle who was conveyed at the hospital. And they carried her at the hospital, CH Rennie Hospital. The media reported that. And the journalist who reported that, besides the ELBC correspondent, was being threatened. There was another lady in red light. They asked these people to go.
Hold that thought, Mr. Coffey. I want to bring in Mr. Mason and Mr. Sandy. I don't know, for some reason we still don't have Minister Fagon here. But earlier today, following the meeting with the Senate, Minister Fagon had the opportunity to address the media. And this media production is courtesy of Spawn TV. Take a listen.
Honorable Fagon, welcome to the media.
I think the meeting was fruitful. I think it was productive in that we held discussions. We held discussions, and determination will be made by the honorable body on information on the way forward. It was a good meeting.
When you say good food, what do you mean? Good meeting, what do you mean?
I won't go into the specifics. I won't go into the specifics of the detail. But when I say good meeting, it was held in a cordial atmosphere. We had the chance to present the facts in the matter. We did so. We did so.
Do you still hold your position?
Again, let me get my file. It is not my position on the issue. We have to be very clear. We have to be very clear. I left the copy over there with the honorable man. Executing the mandate of the president. Executing the mandate of the president. I continue to say, it is not my position. As journalists, as media people, as individuals, we have to be very careful how we understand the English language. Because if somebody says that you will require passes to work, right? How is it my position? I am the deputy spokesperson for the government. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So your position could be the
government. And that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. So when I say, does the government still, not me, does the government still hold the position? That's what I'm saying. So when you say, do you? Your point.
So you met a committee, and specifically, what did they say to you, Minister?
Well, they're going to go back and do the assessment. The facts as presented to them. The facts as presented to them. And I move up to plenary. Like, for example, like I said, let me get my file over there. So I can just show.
Yeah, you're talking about
before getting to your file.
As the committee continue with the revision process, are you going to stay maintain that statement? We want to get that. Or all journalists are going to use their article as the committee continues with the revision process.
Let me be clear on this. All journalists, not only journalists, because the statement from the president is very, very clear that accredited media were only a skeleton staff. That's the key word. One is accredited media. One is accredited media. You must be an accredited media. You must be an accredited media. Not just anybody running. No, you must be an accredited media. No, you must be an accredited media. Skeleton staff. We're only a skeleton staff. Meaning not all of your people will be given passes to work. That means someone must give you the pass to work. I just listed three things. I just listed three things. Let me ask you, the journalist. Do you want every media institution?
Minister, my question is: are you going to continue with this? Why the committee reviewing your document?
And stop it. Let the librarian get the facts. I will let the librarian get the facts. Do you, as a journalist, want every media institution, accredited or not accredited, and all journalists to be on our streets when other people are instituting a lockdown? Is that what you want? So if
journalists are going to use their pass until you have not answered the question.
For the point is, we've not answered you. For the point is, you. Besides you, come me out with this information today. On the day the pass was being issued, it was believed or reported that some media institutions' names were being written in their absence, in the name of them signing for passes, which some people say is forgery. Did it happen, Mr. Minister?
It did not happen. Okay? You know, when people decide to play politics, for us to get the facts. It's good for them for us to get the facts. with the names
this
of
list
Dodu,
with the names of
Julius
Dodu
and others.
Julius Chair and others. This list is
issued.
the first group of passes that were issued.
You see, Yanni?
You see, Yanni?
You signed in the presence of me and Coffey.
And you signed in the presence of me and Coffey that day and collected your passes. So, thank you, the first group of passes.
So people who are carrying that list are playing politics.
They're playing politics to say, oh, that's the new list. That's the new list. But when Julius Chair and Leonard Dodu and even he himself signed, they signed in the presence of me and Coffey and collected their passes. This process should have continued.
It did not.
Unfortunately, it did not. Mr. Coffey single-handedly mass-produced the rest of the passes.
That's a huge allegation. That's a huge allegation.
I have a video evidence.
Can we get a video evidence on the?
Can we get a video?
Right now, I'm not prepared to release it.
Right now, I'm not prepared to release it. I have it. And I know some of you know I have it. No, I don't joke. Secondly, I have here. Hold on. No, yes, I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready. At the appropriate time,
what you see here right now,
what you see here right now will be sheet full of.
These are key
See some of
major.
these are key and major media institutions that have already signed and received the new passes.
Let me just
Key
give you some
and
of the
major.
international
Let me
ones
just
that I
give you some of the international ones that I just say.
That's
Just
why
managed
we
to
get
double
it.
state.
Can we get a look on
That's why the
Well, but you see,
When
but you see,
said accredited media,
when the president said accredited media, he didn't say
I'm
local.
even going to give you that.
But I'm even going to give you the how many
international
international media you see here? BBC here,
VOA here,
AFP here, VOA here, Radio Deutsche Welle here, Reuters News Agency. But when I said,
Let's come back.
I'll name some just to help you, okay? Let's do
I
this.
know some of you already saying, oh, they're not
I
sounding.
know some of you already saying, oh, they're not sounding, they got their all right?
So KMTV have their own.
So KMTV have their own.
The new passes. I'm not talking about
The new
old passes.
passes.
I showed you the
I'm not
old
talking
list.
about old passes. I showed you the old
KMTV
list.
have their own.
KMTV have their own. Public Agenda have their own. Liberty Radio got their own. The News Newspaper got their own. Kings FM got their own. GNN Liberia got their own. Strong FM got their own. AllAfrica.com got their own. Freedom FM got their own. Radio Bethel got their own.
Hot Pepper.
You Durn.
Preach.
Hot Pepper.
Hot FM.
Preach.
WAP TV.
Hot FM.
BBC.
WAP TV.
Sam TV.
BBC.
Cyclone Newspaper.
Sam TV. Cycle Newspaper. Voice of Rural Maserado.
Image
West Africa Palace.
Joy FM.
Image Africa. Joy
You
FM.
ask for y'all, tell you.
You ask for y'all, tell you.
Okay,
so we cool. New Liberia Newspaper, Radio France
I
International,
don't want to call it
Europe.
international.
I don't want to call it the international ones. You want the local ones. You don't want to say you want local ones. You don't ask me why again.
Go ahead. Anyway, New Democrat.
New Democrat.
Dutch Bella, let's leave that.
Dutch Bella, let's leave that. Corruption Watch.
Let's leave that for me.
Washington Post, let's leave that. For me, I don't want to go into that. Super
already
FM
know.
TV,
Radio,
you already know.
People TV,
Alante Radio,
Voice of Firestone,
People TV,
Improfa
Voice of
Daily,
Firestone,
Inquirer newspaper.
Improfa Daily,
So what you wanna
Inquirer
say?
newspaper. So what you want to say?
You mean Jonathan
That's
Pelele,
the
BBC?
other guy.
That's the other guy there too here. I'm not worried about Pelele. And the thing he's a critical voice.
But Minister, why you
Right
not
now,
worried?
imprinting as I speak to you, ECOWAS Radio,
Spoon.
Why you not worried about Pelele? Why you not worried about Pelele? Why are you not worried about
because
Pelele?
I'm not worried because Pelele is a Liberian citizen. He works for the BBC. I don't see him as a critical voice or a threat to this administration. I really don't. I think Mr. Pelele, in all honesty, I think he's overrated.
I really do. Because
I really do.
By whom?
Because
Overrated by whom?
overrated by
others.
the likes of Coffey and others. I don't think we are at war with the PUL. I don't think he's. I think you remember the exchanges between him and the president, and then he sought political asylum or attempted to, but he's been back since. We're still speaking. We're still working together. What is the issue?
Doing the right thing.
What is the issue?
Doing the right thing.
When you say Mr. Pelele is overrated, what are you trying to explain?
Because Mr. Coffey sees him as a critical voice, and the government is attempting. So you do me a favor. Don't tell him to come for a personal issue in your presence.
Coffey that is overrated him on his professional.
I just spoke English. I said overrated by Coffey. What should I say again?
So, sir, as we await Senate decision, what's your advice for members of the Liberian
We are
media?
in this together.
We are in this together.
We are not at war.
We are not at war. We will never go to
fight the
war.
media, you lose.
Because when you fight the media, you lose.
In this war against COVID-19,
But in this war against COVID-19,
which
we should be in it together.
That which means that if the answer to this question is as good as yours, because let's do the right thing. Because we cannot put every media institution on our streets. All journalists. So then the question becomes, on our streets. So then the question becomes, how do we proceed if we cannot do this? Is by getting process so that the essential ones, government, so that they can help the government and not to disrespect and not to disrespect and disregard the mandate of the president. Even here, it is not fair. Even here at the legislature, people are using passes for the essential staff. Foreign affairs, essential staff using passes. So if the media say they will use the essential staff, how do we identify the essential staff? So the very good media ones, so the very good media ones, they're not looking at wisdom. They're looking at the wisdom in the president's statement.
Those who refuse are the bad ones.
Who you consider good or
It's not
bad?
about good or bad. But it's not about good or bad. That's why I'm saying it's not about good or bad, because we don't care if you're good or bad. All we care about, let us join together and win the war on COVID-19. That's the point.
Mr. Fagan, where are you drawing your comparison from? Is there any country in the sub-region that is similar to us compared to Nigeria?
My friend, thank God I live overseas. Even in the White House, you require a pass. Even in the Congress, you require a pass. Even in the Congress, you require a pass to be now. It's happening right now. Right now. Right now.
Pass it to the media?
With this pandemic, is speaking.
With this pandemic, is speaking. Because I just said something to him, which I just said, and then he asked me the same question. I said you have to require a pass. I said you have to require a pass to enter the White House to cover the press briefing right now. I said it's happening right now. I said it's happening right now. You cannot even leave from here. You cannot even leave from here and go there and just walk in and cover. You require passes.
Okay. Minister, thank you so much.
Who have adequate orientation training to intimidate and molestate journalists. Those who are behind the scene are instigating instability in this country. They are pretending they are going against gender democracy. Media will continue as we are agreed to educate the Liberia people. Our people must get the required information so they can be safe. Their action will not deter us from educating our people. We respect this government. This is why when the minister to work together, we start to work together. As you mandated us to listen to this discussion on the set of what concept of the movement of our country. But we must assure you that we maintain our position to challenge any illegal closure of media institutions in this country. This country is of law and not of man. It's coming that institution will be closed, equipment confiscated, and they will maintain that until after the coronavirus was a complete violation of the rights of media institutions, and that threat is inimical to the operation of media practitioners in this country. Our rights must be protected. Our rights should not be infringed upon. We have the Camara Act, that decriminalized sedition, criminal malevolence, and criminal libel against the president. There are conventions, United Nations Convention, protecting media protection. Unnecessary restrictions are forcing legal self-censorship. What is this government planning to hire after 3 o'clock? Just go in the various markets. Entertainment centers. Liberians are proud of selling after 3 o'clock. So you telling me after 3 o'clock for coronavirus, we just spread generals are going that's the time to carry coronavirus. That molest and coerce the media. That which will not accept in line with law. We will respect them. We will observe the health measures. Social justice indicated. As we are indicated, all of you cover updates. Your managers you see recently, to withdraw all of you because it's risky. Judging from the comments of Minister Fagan, predicated upon his attitude towards the media, it's a premature statement that when you are affected, the government will not imagine our police who are further in Nimba, it is those of our police who were coerced who has the deputy minister against you, not you must unite our spirit. We should unite efforts. We should unite efforts. What the president is doing is to make sure that you operate in this country. Without bow down. We cannot bow down. That is any action that is intended to carry you backwards. We are making Manasali administration. We need a development. We are seated to the table market consideration across African government to abolish against government or friend by the passes of the case. So these things we have made are irreversible. The state of emergency has nothing to do with freedom of expression and freedom of the press. The state of emergency is not about war. It's emergency. The media must operate. The last time the Western. These are the things some of them don't want the journalists to highlight. At red light, do allow. When you're asking the marketeers to leave, they take their property. The video some of them reporter was brutalized yesterday for videotaping. What is happening in the counties? Yeah, he's not reporting on that. Generally, I'm reporting on that. You need no hindrance. So you need no barrier. You need no barrier to do your work. You need no barrier to stand by you. Again, together we work. We ready. That's why we respect the work. That's why we respect the Senate. We listen to the Labrador Senate. Whoever government official. Now, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can't wait to do a summary of the position.
Mr. Joe Mason, you are the president of the Association of Liberian Journalists in the diaspora, or in the Americas, if you will. You just listened to the president of the PUL, and you also listened to the Deputy Minister of Public Affairs, the Honorable Eugene Fagan. How do you respond?
Yeah, there's quite a bit to unpack there, especially listening to the deputy minister. I was really hopeful and looking forward to him coming on this evening, but unfortunately, as of now, we haven't heard from him yet. But just listening to him speak, it begs the question again: why is the Minister of Information recalling these passes? Because the justification for recalling them, as far as the minister is concerned, really sounds suspect. You mentioned earlier that he has spoken to you, and he said, and I listened to him again say that there were a lot of these passes in the streets, and he, according to him, and I think Charles mentioned this, he saw one of the passes with a truck driver. Now, if these passes are being duplicated as he claims, and he just said, and I thought, and maybe I might be wrong, but I think I heard him say he has the evidence, and I think I heard one of the reporters asking him, do you have evidence that these passes were duplicated? And he said, I have the evidence, but I'm not prepared to release the evidence now. Well, if you're going to put the media through this re-accreditation process on the basis of the fact that Mr. Coffey, duplicated these passes, won't you want to show us the evidence that you have that these passes were duplicated? More besides, won't you want to at least arrest someone who's impersonating as a media personnel and show that to the public, so the public can at least say, yes, these passes have been duplicated, they have been misused, they are not been used for the intended purpose. To date, we haven't seen any such thing. And I think the PUL would agree that no one wants, journalists from all media institutions in the streets after 2 o'clock. That is why I think they engage in the process of accrediting journalists. I think the issue now, and I think you tend to overlook that issue, the issue now is they intend to recall all their passes and reissue new passes. I think that is the problem right now. And it's never been proven. He hasn't proved. So the burden of proof lies with the minister. Let the minister show us that these passes have been duplicated and they've been misused. Until he can do that, we all find it hard, even for some of us who want to give him the benefit of the doubt, find it hard to believe that, they are approaching this thing the right way. The other thing I want to stress is that if I give the minister the benefit of the doubt, assuming these passes are duplicated, if the PEL was engaged in the discussion in the initial stage where these passes were issued, did the minister come back to Mr. Coffey and say to Mr. Coffey, these passes have been duplicated, they've been misused, they are falling into the wrong hands, let's sit down and discuss a way forward? Did he do that? Mr. Coffey is here. I'm sure he did not. Otherwise, we will not be at this impasse. So it is unfortunate. I think this is a manufactured crisis, a manufactured controversy that we should not be in. It's taken away from this fight that we all should be unified against when it comes to fighting the coronavirus. And the minister thankfully agreed that we need the media, because a vibrant and independent media, I think it's more important now, perhaps at any point in our recent history, when you consider that we all are fighting one enemy, and that is the coronavirus. The government just extended by another 2 weeks the stay-home order. So it tells you that we are nowhere near mitigating the spread of this virus. As a matter of fact, there continues to be an upward trajectory of the number of people testing positive for the virus. So you actually need all hands on deck in this fight. Important to this fight are health workers, and we'll commend the health workers, the doctors, the nurses, and all of those on the front line. We'll commend them for the enormous sacrifices they continue to make in spite of the limited resources they're working with right now and the poor compensation they continue to receive. Obviously, that is a discussion for another day. But important to this fight is the media. They are on the front line. The public needs to be informed, and the media serve as the conduit. So I think the minister, and by extension the ministry, is shooting itself in the foot by continuing to engage in this stand-up with the media. It's not very helpful, and I'm hoping they can come down from their high horses and engage the media so we all can move forward.
Moses Sandy.
Yes, let me just piggyback on what President Mason said earlier. In support of the PEL. The Minister Fagon made a serious allegation. For anyone to duplicate a legitimate document, it means the person has committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm beginning to surmise is that the minister is insinuating that the PEL is behind the duplication, or the PEL is allegedly behind the duplication of passes, media passes in Liberia. Like Mr. Mason said, Liberia is a country of law and order. If Minister Fagon has the evidence, all it takes is to produce the evidence for the fact that he reportedly saw a truck driver with a reported duplicated media accreditation. That does not in any way insinuate that all holders of passes issued by the Ministry of Information are carrying duplicated passes. Liberia is a country of law and order. What did the ministry do? Mr. Fagon represents the government of Liberia. They would have arrested the truck driver, the reported truck driver. But now this case would have been over. If the minister or if the Ministry of Information has the evidence to prove that passes are being duplicated, what are they doing to prosecute those who they claim are carrying fake passes? There's no need for this conflict between the Ministry of Information and the President of Liberia. This is a trivial matter. I think what we all need to be focused on now is how Liberia can overcome the coronavirus situation in Liberia. Mr. Garley, let me take you to topic that. To tell you that, like Mr. Mason said, the Liberian government, is shooting itself in the foot. The government is literally losing the fight on the coronavirus in the wake of what is happening between the Ministry of Information and the media. Recently, there was a report about a group of people that broke into an encampment site for where individuals suspected of coronavirus, were being held. And I watched one of the videos, people were saying that there's nothing like that happening in Capita. It tells you how profound the problem of myth is in Liberia. There are a lot of people who believe that the government is inflicting the myth. There are a lot of people that will believe that there's nothing called coronavirus in Liberia. It's all about money. I think this is where the Ministry of Information should rather be focused on, changing the mindset of the people. And you can do that through effective communication. That is where FACON should be emphasizing government support instead of fighting the media. The Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism should be developing programs that will educate Liberians about what is happening in the country with regard to the COVID-19 situation. Instead, he's wasting government resources, government time, fighting a losing battle. If the government has the evidence to prosecute anyone at the level of the PL, ALJA will support the government. But unless, unless the government can prove us wrong, I think Mr. Mason and his leadership will continue to stand with the PL.
Okay.
In this battle, yes.
Okay, Mr. Sandy, thank you. Let me go back to President Coffey. President Coffey, what are some of the challenges of the PUL with this administration as compared to previous administrations?
Well, is a kind of obstacle to fostering freedom of expression and freedom of the press. And one of the obstacles is tension between security forces and the Ministry of Information in the discharge of our duty. The Ministry of Information will just formulate false allegations which deems that the media is highlighting current events, especially if it has to do with the officials of government taking out corruption and reporting on ills in society, or maybe the lack of basic social services in a particular environment. That Ministry of Information will come up with certain policies to create confusion. So that's the obstacle we are faced with. And the confrontational interaction between security forces and the media. Sometimes the security forces doubt the legitimacy of media sources to gather information. The media also often tend to gather information in time. So as a result, there's always confrontation. I mean, I give you an example of dozens of journalists who have been brutalized in recent times because of the gravity of the incident between security forces and some government officials. We protest and presented a petition to the government for the humiliation and the maltreatment against these journalists. The president constituted an investigative committee as we speak. There is no result. The same FACON came on air and said these journalists were indisciplined and they went against the security forces. So in most cases, he designed such strategy. The Brooklyn committee is yet to conclude investigation and provide findings. So there are a lot of obstacles in discharging journalist duty. For every time we have to stand and make sure that their rights are respected. So we have instances that we can cite that deputy minister always engaged in propaganda. The first time the government talked about weaponizing the media, if I even said the media would not get a dime from the government. There are a lot of comments and utterances and fabrications. Ask anyone in Liberia, they will give you detail. So we passed these laws. We acceded to the Table Mountain Declaration that requires African government to abolish all of these hideous crime against media practitioners with decriminalization of some of these areas, sedition, criminal libel, and the rest. But their actions, don't depict that we have laws on the books. So every time, so there's a huge challenge of late. The previous government, though there were other challenges, but not as in the short period of time. Security brutality against media people were very limited, only court actions. But in this government, every time, even yesterday, a journalist was brutalized in red light for providing coverage. So you see, and so those are the challenges we are faced with, and nothing is being done to address the situation. So the only reliance now for media practitioners in the country is the press union. The press union has to speak out. We have to ensure their protection. That's what's happening in our country.
Now, remittances from the diaspora played a very key role in the upkeep of the economy in Liberia. Now, how can the PUL collaborate with media outlets in the diaspora to inform the public, both in Liberia and abroad? You can answer that, then we'll go around the room with Joel and Moses. Charles?
But I'm very aware the pivotal role being played by ALJA. For every time we are involved in this kind of situation, ALJA will come in and defend not just the press union alone. When there's violation of human rights or people's rights or ills in society, I just speak out. I think that is very important to us because people listen to ALJA when ALJA speaks. ALJA people are our people in the States and we are here relatives. So ALJA sometimes statements coupled with what PUL is doing now is building confidence in the Liberian people. If you were to monitor the local radio stations in our country, you will notice that the citizens are very concerned about measures being instituted by this government. Many of them are thinking that there's no coronavirus, as Moses was saying, because different measures. There is no full attention to the coronavirus fight. The resources, they talk about the $25 million in the budget, they are yet to recast the budget. The legislature voted that that $25 million should go across the country. Government came up with another statement that they will purchase rest, but will be for vulnerable people. So there are a lot of disagreements among Liberians. There are a lot of concerns, but the deputy minister will just call and portray the country as everything is well. No, you can see from the faces of Liberians. If you go in the market, the day the Solicitor General spoke that they were going to close down media institutions, and he will even threaten that anyone beyond 3 o'clock. That's the time the people are still in the streets. The people don't leave after 3. The people feel that they have to, engage in small businesses to address their economic needs. They are appalling economic condition in this country. People are in poverty in this country. So some of these things are being brought to the attention of the public, keeping them abreast. So they don't want the media to work. As I said, this new restriction about passes came about when some radio stations were concerned about the health of President Weah, and many of them reported that he tested positive of the coronavirus, allegedly. The next day, there was a press statement from the president's office that the president was well. The following day, the Solicitor General made threats. The following day, also, the deputy minister came up with these kind of allegations that they were deactivating the passes because they were being duplicated. The new passes he's printing now, that process is intended to deny critical voices. You hear him talking about, they got nothing to do with pay lady, gave passes to BBC reporter without pay lady who is assigned in the country. Just listen to him. And most of the stations he named, these are all fallacies. Today, when I went at the Senate, I went over 10 major media outlets. You had Truth FM, OK FM, Prime FM, Sky TV, and Radio with T Magazine. All of these people were us. Frank Sanwola, Pelere, Alfonso Tue, the New Republic, his name is false and misleading.
But
all the auxiliaries
you just
of the
saw
president
him, you just saw him show a list that most of the people who were at the press conference, 75% of them have passes. And you mentioned critical voice. I am a critical voice, and I received 2 passes.
Well, whoever can receive a pass, that's what not we are disputing. But most of the institutions will not go for passes. And remember, the old passes, you got a list. They will print the list and then exhibit those passes and saying people collected passes. Many of these people are not going for passes. The issue with the passes is not a perfect recipe for discussion about the coronavirus. In Liberia, you don't need a pass to operate a radio station. The work of the Ministry of Information is to give institutional permits. If it is radio from the permit, they go to the Liberia Telecommunication Authority, LTA, for frequency. That's the work. But Ministry of Information does not give permit to or license to individual journalists in this country. They are all accredited by the press union as institutional and individual members. And all of the media workers in this country rely on the press union for the rights to be protected. So it's possible that a few institutions could get a pass because of the cohesion and the threat he makes on the issue of business practice, that government will not do business with any media institution refusing to accept the new passes. These are the threats they've been making, advertisement, all of the rest, silencing other media institutions using quote unquote, giving them advertisement to convince them to go for passes. So the people you see, those few institutions, they are the business people who go there to get these passes, but you don't see passes with reporters. In fact, the security are asking for valid identification card. There are a lot of strategies this government is employing to further endanger the lives of journalists and continue to keep the Liberian people in poverty. For every time they are abreast of unfolding events about government, statements and comments and policies are not yet in fruitful result to react to that, it will come to the media. So you can ask beyond us. We are together, we are united. In every situation, you have people who will move in because of business purposes. So people who move in for passes is a threat of not doing business with them. And government is the only institution now providing, how the resources. Most of the concessionaires are slowed down. Some companies shut down. As we speak, the government is yet to pay the debt owed the Publishers Association. They're not begging for money, but they do advertisement, picture, and the rest. So they use the economic strength to subdue the media. The only organization that will not bow down to this is the president, and will continue to speak out. There's nowhere in the world that a state of emergency will curtail the rights of the media. Article 15 of our Constitution. So printing all passes that we selected, all the media institutions that were important to provide coverage, the new passes are intended to disable those media institutions. He's insinuating that we're going to put people in the street. That's what I'm saying. He's not a professional person. He's looking at politics, we're looking at professionalism. He doesn't know the media terrain. It's not possible to have everyone in the street. Most of the media workers are at the various media institutions. You got editors, you have newscasters, you got presenters. These people, technicians and announcers and switchers at television, they are the radio station or television station. The only people you see to gather news are reporters. So these people can only encounter the security when they are leaving from work or going to work if it is late. He doesn't know the operation of the media. So you
are accusing Minister Fagon of not knowing the terrain when it comes to the media. But on the other hand, Mr. Coffey, you learn. On the other hand, you are not in the position to put your own house in order. What happened to your vice president? He broke away and he formed his own media institution.
He's not my vice president. My vice president, the secretary, assistant secretary, everybody is on course. We had an election. He was defeated. He ran against me to become president. He was defeated.
But he was the vice president on your administration, though, correct?
Yeah, that was then the first thing. Okay. So he was defeated. He broke away to organize an institution which cannot run parallel with the union. We have so many auxiliaries in this country. A lot of media development institutions. Different auxiliaries.
But going through electoral process, that does not call for division. Why would he want to just go and form his own organization when we at the press union level should be under one umbrella?
If the subject matter being discussed was about the former vice president breaking away, then I would have given you some detail. But because the subject or the topic is about passes and the deputy minister,
okay, no, I just brought that in because we are talking about the media.
That so it cannot distract our
Go ahead and land.
We are not going to dignify them.
Go ahead.
So as I was saying, he doesn't know the media terrain. He's not a professional journalist. I have told him. It is a different when you get on social media and say political cartel, whether you are a gardener or sanitary engineer or whatever profession. And because of political expediency, they call you to go to the Ministry of Information. That public affair is a professional area. There are people who serve there. The role is to reach out. Last Ebola, when you have Jerry Amma and Louis Brown were Minister of Information, we were at that ministry designing strategy. We had a national media platform. The Press Union, the Ministry of Information were designing strategies as to mitigate the challenges our people were encountering in the denial stage. And that's the same process we were developing with Eugene Namwe when he got sick. He left Mr. Fakao in charge of the issues. So we have that process in place. I was talking about not knowing the media terrain. Why will you say all the journalists will be in the streets? It's not possible. Only reporters can gather, and because of the health measures, do you think any journalists want to get this disease? This is not rebel incursion. This is not war. All of us are concerned of our safety. The first thing the press union did when the coronavirus incident occurred, we called media executives to meeting and media owners that they should discontinue their normal activities, reduce staff. So many of these reporters are working from home. Few persons are working. And some of these people, they observe the social distance. And when you go at the radio station, in the newsroom, in radio room, or whatever, television, they observe the social distance. And bulk of them at the radio station changing shift. So they are now going to be working in the street as Minister Pakon is portraying. That's what I'm saying. He's not a professional person. He's reading the president's state of emergency with little comprehension. When you talk about accredited media, you talk about people who have permits, who have frequencies, who government already give people to operate in the country. The president repeatedly said he did not ask anyone to be people.
We're having trouble with Mr. Coffey as he tries to get back. Want to go to President Mason? I'm going to pose the same question to you. How can you collaborate?
That. So government is even saying that, yes, they are duplicated. They made a pronouncement. That's what they said. The defense ministry arrested 2 persons who were impersonating as AF personnel implementing the state of emergency. The police even arrested some people who were impersonating. So tell me, he has never provided evidence to arrest anyone he said with press card. So that's the kind of propaganda they normally engage in, to portray to the outside world or to some members of the public that there's a problem and the media is in the wrong. And we know all of these political strategies. All we are saying in Liberia, the media must be free. The rights of the media will not be restricted. You can't allow us to engage in a discussions that all of us should work together with the minister. When the minister got sick, he took over. He said, you don't want to use your boss passes that he has faced a signature on. You're going to produce your own passes with security features. So that's the problem. And he was saying it's happening all over. It's not true. Nigerian president just made a pronouncement that the journalists are not part of the lockdown. All around us, you don't need pass to work.
Okay, that's the voice of Mr. Charles Coffey, the president of the Press Union of Liberia. Let us now go to Mr. Joe Mason, who is the president of ALJA, and the same question goes to you, Mr. Mason. How can PUL collaborate, or how can ALJA collaborate with the media institutions in Liberia to inform the public, both in Liberia and abroad? Mr. Mason.
Yeah, before I address that question, let me just add on to what Charles said and just emphasize the point. Until the ministry can just come up with the evidence and justify why these passes need to be recalled, we will continue to question the motive and stand in solidarity with the PUL. The PUL had a mass meeting a couple of days ago, and the membership unanimously decided that they would not adhere to the ministry's new accreditation process. I called Charles and told him that ALJA as an organization will continue to stay in solidarity with the PUL on this issue. We've worked closely together with the PUL and will continue to do so. As an organization, we realize how important the media is to the overall development of our country. The role of the media cannot be overemphasized. That's why it is called the Full State. And we will continue as an organization to work with Charles and the rest of our colleagues in Liberia. One of the things I want to add too is that the government needs to tamp down the threat against the media. They need to really match their actions with their verbal commitment to the freedom of speech and freedom of the press. They've not done that, and I think they need to. I think these threats consistently coming from the government have the tendency to paint the press as being anti-government. I'm not sure the press is anti-government. They're critical media, obviously, in any country, as is the case in Liberia. But the fact that these media institutions are critical or individuals critical, this should not be labeled and should not be treated any differently. Because as Charles talked about earlier, over the last several months, threats, intimidation, detention, brutality against the media have been so rampant. And he spoke about the position statement they presented. Unfortunately, even though a presidential investigative commission was appointed, to date, absolutely nothing has been heard. So much so that 2 members of that commission resigned from the committee. It tells you, and not only did they resign, but they said emphatically that the government is not serious about investigating these acts of brutality against the media. I think it's unfortunate where we are right now. The government needs the media as much as the media needs the government, because it is an important part in our social political discourse in our country. And the government needs to do whatever it can do to make sure that the media atmosphere is free, is unfiltered, and is conducive enough for our colleagues to continue to operate. Let's just add just one more thing. You asked about our partnership and cooperation with the PUL. At the moment, and I don't know if you'll come to that, but we're in the process as an organization to respond to the current crisis in the country, the current pandemic response in the country. We are partnering with the PUL to be able to provide whatever assistance we can at our end, given the need that exists in the country. We just recently concluded our fund drive where we raised some money to be able to help our colleagues in the country, because, like I said earlier, they are on the front line to covering this epidemic and ensuring that the people are informed about what's happening, so that we all can work together to help mitigate the spread of this virus. So sometime this week, hopefully, the Association of Liberian Journalists in the Americas will be making a presentation to our colleagues in Liberia, just to help as they continue this battle, and to let them know that as an organization, we appreciate the work, the passion, the commitment they continue to bring to the profession, and hopefully it will bring a sort of motivation to them to continue to do their work.
That's very good. Want to go to the President Emeritus, Mr. Moses Sandy.
Yeah, I stand 100% behind President Mason of ALJA and President Coffey of the PUL. We are all in this together. As President Emeritus of, we want to ensure that the media in Liberia remains vibrant remain liberated and continue to do his work without fear or any form of intimidation. What is currently obtaining between the Ministry of Information and the PL is a further exacerbation of the poor relationship, which exists between the media and the government. The Liberian government constituted a committee with a specific mandate to probe the ongoing harassment and intimidation of journalists in the country. Yet the committee has not been able to meet and get anything accomplished. Now, in the wake of that, you have a deputy minister who sits at the Ministry of Information, and he believes that he can erroneously cow, Liberian journalists into submission. This is very unfortunate. At a time like this, when you need to put public information out there, when you need people to interpret and report objectively about what is happening in the country, and you have a deputy minister who is so fixated on ensuring that the work of the media in Liberia is obstructed. This is sad. It's very, very sad. I hope people of reasoning will begin to look at what Minister Fagon is doing, Deputy Minister Fagon is doing, from a different perspective.
Moses,
into this problem, yeah.
Moses, I'm not calling you off, but sometimes we tend to think that the deputy minister is working in isolation, and I think he said that at just the press gaggle he just had. He's working with the approval and acquiescence and support of the president. He says he's instituting the president's mandate. So we should consider these actions as the government of Liberia's action as opposed to Minister Fagon, because I think sometimes given who he is, given his character, given what he's done over the last several months in government and his attitude, sometimes people tend to think that he's operating in isolation of the rest of the government. He clearly said that, because I believe that what is obtaining right now, if it did not have the support of the government, it would have ended a long time ago. But I think this policy, we should begin to interpret it. And I stand to be wrong on this. I really stand to be wrong. I want to be wrong. But until proven otherwise, I think we should consider these actions, the one recording these passes, the one from a Solicitor General threatening to close down media institutions and seize the equipment because of what he calls fake news. Because we should consider these threats and these actions as sanctioned by the Liberian government until we're proven otherwise.
I agree, Mr. Missing, and to further explain what you're saying, I would say that what we are currently faced with in Liberia is a leadership deficit. Unfortunately, we have a government, we have a president who seems to have a limited understanding of what is obtaining in the country politically. And so in a situation like that, you have overzealous officials of government who just make pronouncements that undermine the peace and stability of the country. You have an overzealous Solicitor General who feels that he has the authority, to arbitrarily shut down media institutions, which is very sad. I don't think Liberians are ready to reverse the peace and stability in that country. So Fagon, Serena Seaforth, and others who believe that they are law unto themselves, these people need to be, corrected. Their situations need to be controlled. Other than that, the peace and stability in Liberia will continue to be in danger. We don't need these kind of people to run who just believe that they can do anything and get away with it. Unfortunately, instead of the president leading, he's been led by Fagon and others who need to even be oriented in terms of governance.
Yeah.
This is sad.
Okay. Well, that's enough of the passes. I want to touch on two more things, and then we can open up the telephone lines tonight. something that really caught my attention today. Mr. Coffey, if you're still there, you can react to this. I think we have to be responsible in the way we post stuff on the social media because there's no room for war now. We have suffered too long. And today, the acting chairman of the COP, Mr. Money Parker Domoyne, went on the social media and posted that we don't need rice. We, the poor people now, we need AK-47s so that our leader can listen to us. And I'm sitting here thinking, what was he thinking in making that statement? And you have colleagues of his, members of the COP in the diaspora, they have not said anything about that. Mr. Coffey, how do you respond?
Well, I read what we are talking about, but I wouldn't determine his motives. Our country is, politically charged now. There are a lot of disagreements in this country. I told you earlier on, because he's now in the public. But if you were to visit most of the slums community, the manner and form in which security forces are implementing this state of emergency, no food, nothing. Government is here to provide a food. Even the city want to be vulnerable. People are disagree. And those who are in the political cycle, they have their own way. The president does not control citizen journalism. We have no control over social media. But no Liberian will condone war again. So if you say we need AK-47 and the rest, I don't know his intention, but we think if we have concerns, we should foster these concerns through legitimate means, and that's what we are doing. There are a lot of disagreement in our country. There are a lot of abuses. So some people can just go out of anger and say some things, but the president does not support those kind of comments. As we indicated, the rights of the people must be respected, and no need for anybody to call for war. He only said they need AK-47. He needed to explain further, but if you hear the need AK-47, looking back of the war days, one would determine that, they are talking about violence, which of course all of us will resist. And we think that that statement must be retracted. We will not support violence in the country. In the same vein, corrective measures should be instituted to deter people from engaging in local acts that are inimical to the norms of society.
Thank you. Joe?
Oh yeah, I share Charles's view. We've had a terrible past, due in large part to an armed conflict, the Civil War, and that is still fresh in our memory. I certainly haven't read Mr. Dumoyne's reasoning for calling for Liberians to take AK-47 as opposed to rice, but it's important to stress that in spite of the disagreement we have, and we're expressing our disagreement now. We have disagreement with the government right now, and we're expressing the disagreement in a manner that is civil, in a manner that that should be done, that is civil, that is respectful, and we hope that we can have some redress. But the last thing any Liberian wants is for us to resort to that ugly history of ours. Mr. Weah was elected democratically for a 6-year term. We think he needs to constitutionally serve his 6-year term. And come elections, again, we can, exchange ideas, and the best man out there, hopefully, is able to win the elections. And that is free, that is fair, and that is respected by everyone, including the international community. So that is our view. We condemn any act of violence or any intent to cause violence, because we think Liberia has just suffered too much given our history, and we all need to disagree politically and express the disagreement in a way that is civil.
Mr. Sandy.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with Mr. Coffey and President Mazing. I don't think Liberia is prepared for another civil uprising. We all know what happened to Liberia. 14 years. 14 years civil war. The lost 250,000 human lives, millions of dollars worth of property. I think it would be insane for any well-meaning Liberian to call for another civil war in that country. Liberians are war fatigued, and I don't think we are prepared to reverse the progress, the peace that the country currently enjoys. What we need now is to begin to hold our political leaders accountable for what they do. Make sure that the rights of our people are protected, like we are doing now. Dealing with people in authority to reason and ensure that the media in Liberia remains free in the performance of its reportorial duties. That's what we need. We want accountability. We want a country where people will have the right to move back and forth without any form of political intimidation or harassment. That's what we need.
Now, lastly, before we go to the line, British Radio Africa broke a story this morning that yesterday a flight or charter flight, according to Mr. Fawaz, chartered the flight to come to Liberia and get some of their workers to leave the country. But come to find out it was on the contrary. They actually smuggled 11 Turkish citizens from Turkey to come and do some gold mining. And according to what we read, that the executive mansion was surprised. And they were actually in the position to put these guys in container to ship them to the destination. That's when Mr. Fawad arrived at the RIA. And with that, they wanted them to go immediately into isolation to observe the 14 days. But whatever transpired between the airport securities, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted Minister Fankon to be here. They managed to take this guy through Land Cruiser and Pajero Jeeps and took them to Conolab, and where they are in isolation now. The 11 people, among them, there was a medical doctor, a general manager, IT technicians coming here to mine gold in this era where we're still battling with this pandemic. President Coffey.
Yes, but these are some of the happenings in our country that the media tend to keep the public abreast. So you will see clearly that they will not allow the media, and they will continue to fight the media from exposing ills in society. The fight against the coronavirus is becoming a challenge to our government. Despite of the lockdown, the cases continue to increase. The death rate went to 20. But because of the coronavirus, there are other things happening in the country that they want to divert the attention of the media. How did you know that some foreign national came in the country and to engage in what we are talking about is through the media? That's why we are saying there should be no restrictions. In fact, the Secretary General of the United Nations said that the African government should not use the coronavirus situation to muscle the press, to institute stringent measures against the press. So we were part of the International Federation of Journalists and are signatory to these instruments. We have to speak out. If you call Minister Fakon now, he'll give you a different picture.
No, I mean, wait, my reporter contacted Minister Fagon. He said he was going to look into it and was going to get back.
That's what I'm
saying. But then
the
press attaché to this organization confirmed that, yes, there was a charter flight. 11 people came in the country, and yes, they were shipped into Bond County. They're in isolation now. Yeah, he said that.
That's what I'm saying, that they would not give you a clearer picture, assuming that the journalists did not uncover such information. So I'm now saying they didn't explain to you because that information was provided. They have footage to that, and they have to provide such information. The only way you can get independent information void of government propaganda is through the independent media. Do you know whether they are still in isolation? How do you carry people to Bond County in Cherokee Jeep? When the plans of the medical practitioner was that when you get at the airport, immediately you have to be someone to be quarantined. You don't leave Monrovia. You don't go in other county. Bond County, there's no outbreak in Bond County. And you carry people in Bond County. The same thing that happened when the first person who was affected with this viral king, Mr. Blama, he went home and there was a panorama. So there after the virus started spreading. So measures that are put into place are now full implemented on other people. If it is the ordinary citizen, they institute these measures. They talk about no flight coming into the country, but they brought a charter flight on a different purpose. They said they were coming to do different things. So you think these people would not even be arrested? The guy who sent for this guy with a charter flight, they should have been prosecuted for not by now. But government has interest. Government is aware. You know, these are the ills. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're aware. These are the ills in society. They don't want the press to dig out. Right now, as we speak, there is no measures instituted to curtail the landslide in our country. In Kidman, people that in Bond County now, 4 persons died and 10 persons are still trapped to mining area. It's raining. People are still doing illicit mining. Nothing is happening to curtail the situation. We're talking about coronavirus. People are still doing mining, illegal mining.
That's the story. In
so there are a lot of
Cocoa, Bond County. Yeah.
Yes. There are a lot of things that are happening in the country that the journalists are falling, are digging out. You see? So taking people to Bond County was not the best thing to do. If you read an editorial or people begin to talk about it, digging out the story, because people who even at the airport, they're aware. So these are the things we're talking in our country. All the media is doing is to make the government accountable to the public. These people were elected by the Liberian people.
That's right.
The media being a full asset is the neutral body that will make them to account to the public because they have authority already. So they are propagandists. Whenever they are caught in the process, they will design strategies. Our country is at risk, especially with the coronavirus. We don't know how the fight is going on. We learned they have drugs in the country for Madagascar. WHO is even saying that they should be mindful. Different comments from World Health Organizations and other groupings. So the only means we can do to curtail the virus is through the awareness. Health workers cannot reach to places that are landlocked. Our Liberia is underdeveloped. Imagine basic social services in Monrovia alone is not across Monrovia. Some people, sometimes in central Monrovia, no water, no electricity across the city. What's some of the leeward counties? People are still striving for basic social services. Now, the lockdown has disabled most Liberians, especially in Monrovia, to find a daily bread because some of them rely on daily hustle in the Liberian way to eat. So the condition is worsening. Most of the medical institutions now are now focusing on the other sicknesses. Everybody is about coronavirus. So other people are dying from curable diseases. You know, so these viral issues should not be used for government to ignore the rights to education, which of course has been suspended, but the rights to freedom of expression,
Thank you.
The rights to information.
Thank you, Mr.
So
President.
we will continue to do our best despite of the challenges and the measures being instituted. The president will not deter. We took off. We'll continue to speak out that there should be no way that the press rights should be curtailed on the state of emergency.
Thank you. We'll go to Joel and Moses, then we'll take a few calls and call it a night. Joel?
Yeah, I've been letting you just add that the media has an obligation to ensure that objectivity, truth telling, unbiased reporting is the most important part of what they do. And the PL has to ensure, of course, and I'm sure the PL, try to do its best, but the PL has to ensure that its members are adhering to the highest, ethical standard possible. And we talked about the role of the media. Look, a government that is not transparent will fear the media. A government that is not transparent will do everything possible to ensure that the media is muzzled, to ensure that the media is silenced. And I'm hoping that is not the case with this government, because The media has been here for past governments. It will be here through this government. The media has survived censorships and imprisonment from past governments, but the media will remain resilient. The media will remain strong, and the media will see this government through a 6-year term. The media will see Minister Bagon come and end his term. The media will be here. Anyone who thinks that they can silence the media, they can intimidate the media, I think they're doing it at their own peril. The unfortunate thing is we do not learn from our history, and we continue to repeat the mistakes of our history. The government needs to embrace the media. The government needs to work with the media, because the media serve a useful purpose for our country. It helps in sustaining peace. It helps in fostering development. And so I just think, this current approach, we are hoping that it will change. This current anti-media rhetoric that we hear on a consistent basis, we're hoping that it will change.
Okay, Mr. Sandy.
Yeah, to sum it up, all I can say is that the media and the government have an inseparable relationship. Without a vibrant and effective media, there can be no democracy. Nothing can happen in Liberia that is not reported on without the media. So, Deputy Minister Fagon, President Weah, and the others in government have to understand that the relationship between the government and the media is inseparable. The Liberian government is not an island. The Liberian government needs the media needs the government. The government has the responsibility to create the enabling environment, and the media has the responsibility to report objectively about what is obtaining in Liberia. So that's why the relationship is inseparable. We have to work together. The media and the government must work in unison for a better Liberia. Like Mr. Mason said, the Liberian media has seen several governments come and go. What we have today is nothing permanent. It's just a matter of time. Very soon, the CDC will be a government of history. So they need to understand that. The media will always be there. All we can do, all the administration can do now is to ensure transparency, accountability, and good governance. That's all the Liberian media is asking for. Thank you.
Okay. Again, that's the voice of Mr. Moses Sandy, folks. The telephone numbers are 248-979-1718. And for WhatsApp, we have 313-408-8396. And those are the numbers to call. And I can see the phone already buzzing to see who's calling. I think we seem to be having a problem here with the WhatsApp here. Mr. Coffey, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. What is the PUL doing to ensure the independence and protection of reporters, given Mr. Miller's, Zeno Miller, who just passed away from police brutality?
Well, the PUL, as I say, is an advocacy group. For every time there is this infringement on the rights of reporter or media worker, we speak out and demand justice. So Miller is one of those who we listen in our petition.
Okay, hold on. We have a caller on the line. Hello, caller. Tell us your name.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Garley. How are you?
Good. Tell us your name and where you call from, sir.
Yes, this is Steve Bolin, commonly known as Moses.
Hey, welcome, my brother. I know you've been following.
Yes.
Go ahead and make your point.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garley. As usual, every time I have the opportunity, I like to say thanks to your studio guests, the three leaders of the media, the three leaders from both Liberia and the diaspora. I want to say thanks to them for the deliberation today. But I also want to say to the Liberian people that they are the most important people. And happy belated Mother's Day to all the Liberian women, because they are the most beautiful women on earth. I still believe that, and I believe the three gentlemen in the studio there can attest to that fact, that Liberian women are the most beautiful women. I have two questions for both the president here in the diaspora and the president back home and the president emeritus. But before I ask my question, I'd like to say I agree with President Coffey, who asserted that this is a strategic plan from Eugene Fagon, from the government institutions to ensure that they suppress the media in these times where facts need to be reported and the Liberian people need to know and the world need to know at large what's going on in this COVID-19 period. I agree with him 100%. It's strategic. But here's my question, and this question goes to the President Emeritus and Mr. Coffey, and then I'll get to the second question for the President here in the diaspora. My question is, for this year, we noticed that Zena Miller, from his post, died of violence. To some extent, it could be attributed from the government's side. We also noticed sometimes last year, Roots FM was closed down. We did not hear the PEL. We did not hear much about you guys or much being said. Now, my question is, there are a lot of young people in the media today. What are you guys doing to ensure that their lives and security is paramount, and also they are not compromised in reporting the facts and reporting the truth and be authentic? And my question to this question was for the two presidents from Liberia, both the emeritus and the current president. The question for the diaspora president here now is, what are his plans, or the media in the diaspora's plans, to incorporate talk show hosts? Because we've seen that social media, there's a proliferation of new talk show hosts coming up every day, and they're unveiling some of the facts from back home. Some of these stories they uncover. What is the plan to incorporate them into the media, or to welcome them and to embrace them, or to bring them on board so that they can work together for a better Liberia? And also, what is the plan to ensure that the support for the media back home is not only collecting money and having this other thing, but to ensure that, some of these situations and these cases against the media is raised up here to our partner in the U.S. government. Thank you so much.
Okay. Mr. Coffey, did you get the question?
No, please repeat.
Okay. Joel, did you get a question?
Yeah, I think I understood the second part of his question, but not the first part. The second part, I think he talked about raising awareness here in the United States relative to what is unfolding in Liberia vis-a-vis the PEL. I think I'm right on the second part, but there was the first part of the question.
The first part, I think he talked about the brutality of Zena Miller. Was
that addressed to me or for Charles?
No, for both of you guys. And he also talked about the closure of Roots FM, and the PUL did not do much to come in their support.
Yeah. So I will let Charles address that. I think that was for him.
Yeah. Charles?
Yes. With I don't know. From which aspect is he referring to of not doing much? When the incident occurred, the president moved in, and Roots FM also hired some lawyers. We all went to court. The only thing the president can do is to challenge the decision through a competent court of jurisdiction. And Roots FM went to court, and that case is still sub judice. The same way we punched FN for Patrick Honor. We went to court. Patrick won the case. The government lawyers took appeal to the Supreme Court. So that's the situation. With Miller, I did say his name is part of the listing we provided in our petition to the government, international community about security brutalities. And we continue to pressure the government to conduct investigation. The last time they blamed the delay to coronavirus. and we issue a statement that, we got many ways to investigate, especially the technology and different platforms. 2 persons resigned from that committee, the chair of the Civil Society Council, the president of ALJA, Peter Kwekwe, because of the delay, according to them. But then in recent time, the head of the committee, Dr. Brookler, said they have started work and they've been giving us some information about, getting to those who are alive and who give them some information. So we all need to mount pressure. That's what we've been doing in this country. We all following the disagreement between we and the government. But every time we issue a strong statement against the government and relating to, the attacks against journalists, violating their rights, they will come up with different measures, but we will not deter. So indeed, we still going through the process. The 2 radio stations issues are sub judice. All of us subscribe to the rule of law. We are optimistic that they will reach a logical conclusion. From last year, we had similar issues that the same deputy minister was the one heading the process, said they were trying to certificate and give permit to media institution. We raised the issue. At the end, they have to close Punch FM because they were directing the attention to close Punch FM. We raised the issue. We issued a statement that measures was intended to get a certain media institution. Our critics and some supporters of the government said we were opposition, we were tough, and everything we said came to pass. Punch FM was not open, other media institution. It's the same thing with the passes we're talking about. So we live in the country. We experience some of these actions of the government. We know very well when they take action to get at media. So when they're about to institute these measures, we resist them. So we know very well. I think the Liberian people should join us because the media is serving the Liberian people, serving the public. We need to have the civil society to join us. We need more pressure in a civilized manner to challenge the action of the government. Some journalists were arrested, we went to court. When Ronnie C. staff were arrested and carried to the civil law court on ground that they did an announcement, the president moved in and the public defenders helped us in the process, and they were free the same day. USAID, United States Agency for International Development. The U.S. government is also supporting the president in fighting some of these cases, lawsuits. They help us through Internews to support us in the process. We've been doing our work at our reach, and we'll continue to do our best. And everything that happened, we document. We've got 2 programs running. We got a National Media Council, and this council comprising 9 members from diverse background. We got journalists. The 2 dominant religious institutions are represented on that committee, Muslim and Christian. We got the academia, and then we have civil society. So they look into ethical transgression or breaches. When complaints are brought against journalists, they probe into that, and based on the gravity, we punish them out of suspension, fine, or you retract the story. They will have another program that being sponsored by the United Nations, the United States Agency for International Development, tracking attacks against journalists. So we document all of this, not just talking in Liberia, we document that, we send that in the public domain, we send that to the international community. So of late, there have been pressures for international community that governments should take certain action to guarantee press freedom. Some of the report for the United States areas, United States government about human rights abuses, mostly in the press. Some of these actions derive from the reports that the public gave that we present. So there are a lot of actions we've been taking.
Well, our time is up, and I want to go to Joe as he concludes, and then we'll go back to the President Emeritus, and we can call this a night.
Thank you, Ashford. So, among ALJA's objective is to continue to champion the cause of press freedom in Liberia through media advocacy. We also promote and foster the principles of good governance in Liberia through social justice advocacy. So even though we are not in Liberia, but we do complement the PEL, we do share similar goals and objectives of the PEL. So we might be not in Liberia, but our voice is loud and it's clear. You will hear ALJA speak, and we will be consistent in calling out issues in the country regarding some of the core values I just explained to you, regarding good governance, media freedom, and press freedom. But we also not just critical. If the government does something that is right, ALJA has an obligation, ALJA has a responsibility to call it what it is. We have an obligation to commend the government, because the government is not always wrong. The government is able to do some things right. And when they do, we have an obligation to say that as well. But we've been consistent in speaking out on issues that occurs in our country, and we'll continue to do that. What we've also done is to give the PEL the platform when we do host our conventions every year, because we have a really good relationship with the PEL and its current president. When we do have our conventions, they do come to the United States, and they have the platform, the elevated platform, to speak on the core issues that concern them in Liberia, in terms of some of the value we just talked about. We're looking more and more. Unfortunately, the coronavirus has impeded some of the progress we're making, but we're looking more and more to see how we can offer further assistance to the PEL and to our other colleagues in Liberia, and we'll continue to explore that possibility. Hopefully, when things settle down. But yes, we'll continue to work hand in hand with PEL. The President Emeritus before me did the same thing, and I'm doing the same thing as well. Fortunately, we have a good partner in Charles Coffey that we'll continue to work with.
Okay, we will finish up with Mr. Coffey to give the last word, but other than that, conclude with the President Emeritus, Mr. Moses Sandy.
Yeah, thanks, Ashford, for the opportunity to be on your radio this evening. Like Mr. Missing said, right now in the diaspora, and I'm not saying this because I'm President Emeritus of ALJA, but if you look around the diaspora, the most prominent voice here today in the diaspora is ALJA. ALJA speaks on those critical issues that have to do with good governance, media development, that Mr. Mason said, press freedom, free speech, the rule of law in Liberia. We continue to add our voice to those concerns that have been raised by ordinary Liberians. We commend whenever the need arises. When I was president, when Mr. Mason was vice president, we did that effectively. And today, Mr. Mason is continuing to do that. I think ALJA is being lauded, not only in Liberia, but also in Liberia for being for being a critical voice. And we will continue to do that. Not only speaking to the critical issues, but we'll also continue to look out for our colleagues in Liberia who need our support. That's why I would like to use this opportunity to call all of our colleagues, wherever they are, in the Americas, to come and lend support to the good work that Mr. Mason and his leadership are doing in making sure that ALJA remains a united group in the Americas.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen. Mr. Coffey, your final words just before we cut it out. I know it's late out there, almost what?
Yes, it's this morning out here now.
Man, thank you so much,
it's to commend all of you for the platform. Our core values as armed brother organization of media in the country is to hold government accountable and ensure that social justice on the rule of law, which is the basis of justice, prevail. We are not against government. The media is helping the government to propagate its policy. In the same vein, if things are not going right, the media can keep the citizens abreast. Our intention is to make sure that the rule of law prevail without democracy, and that all of us will play a role for the common good of our country. The press union does not subscribe to unprofessionalism and ethical transgression. So whenever some of our colleagues are caught in the process by our own framework, disciplinary actions are instituted. But we want to call on government, especially those elements of government, to see our actions as members of the press, that we are not going to use the passes. We're going to continue with our ID card that is internationally acceptable principles. Furthermore, we detect a lot of problems. They're going to deny some media institutions, and the threats have been made by the Solicitor General and the Deputy Ministers. All of the allegations the Deputy Minister is making, they are false and misleading, but they are just intended to divert our attention from doing the right thing. So we urge all journalists across the country, in Liberia and elsewhere, that our role is to create massive awareness so that this coronavirus, our people can be fully aware. Those who are still in the denial stage can be brought to the reality that a virus exists. And what we need to do as Liberians is to unite efforts against the common enemies. Government should put into place those mechanisms, and they are even required to look at dispute resolution mechanism in various sectors between the PUL and Ministry of Information, which the Senate launched. And together we can fight the coronavirus. All we after is for Liberia to be safe, and the right thing should be done. The democracy that we have achieved, we should not revert to the past of dictatorship. We have security harassing media practitioners, harassing citizens. Once we bring this to the attention of the government acts in a timely manner and institute some corrective measures, our country will continue to move forward. Again, the guy who's calling for AK-47, we in the media setting will not support that, because the war affected every set of our country. And our people who are already suffering the no money syndrome, the hardship or the economic condition cannot refer to civil crisis or violence. What we need to do, we have the democracy, we got the rule of law. If there are issues, we should speak out. We should use other means for redress rather than violence. The media will always expose ills in society and also inform the public government is doing well. Thank you to Mr. Mason and Mr. Sandy for the support to the PUL. Most of our colleagues are already informed about the process in the United States that ALJA is going to help us. It will do some contribution, because we've been distributing face masks around buckets. Imagine there's no personal protective equipment given to even the journalists who are the front line at the health ministry. So we are under a difficult situation. What we need to do is for government to mobilize resources and empower media institutions like WHO did for training, so that our country can be free. United we strong, divided we fall. All of us have a role to play. We can cooperate with government, but we cannot compromise our rights, freedom of expression, and freedom of the press. That's part of the collaboration we'll be having with government. Our responsibilities are different, but they are all intended for the good of our country. Thank you also for the platform.
Thank you. That's the voice of Mr. Charles Coffey, the president of the PUL, making his presence known tonight. And Mr. Coffey, this is just a home away from home. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ashford.
Thank you. Want to go back to information?
Thank you, Ashford.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome, gentlemen. You're welcome. Information Highway, Mrs. Letty Brooks Rabbits is there to give us her parting comment. Mrs. Rabbits. Okay, I think she's gone. So, folks, I'm afraid that's all the time I have to be with you. God willing, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. till 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. The heart of a man is never known until he rises. And there's no second chance to make that first impression. Don't see okra and swallow bone, because you can't hide your nakedness on beef and bucket. When God bless you, don't say that medicine. When white men know you friend black man. This has been yours truly. And now you know me. One copy. Ashford Garley. Have a good night.